Okay, last night when I left off, I think we had fused our spine pages together, right? I went ahead and gave it a coat of Mod Podge, both sides, just to seal it good, make it, you know, pliable but strong. Trimmed it down to size to fit my pages, and then gave it this accordion fold like this, and I'll show you how I did that. You take your whatever paper you're using for your spine, you measure off, and what I did was I just laid my paper out, and then I just had to kind of figure out, you know, trial and error, how many or how far apart I could get my marks and still get all 12 marks on there, because I needed 12 marks, one for each month, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11. Where's 12? Oh, they're on the other side. Okay, it matters from one side to the other. The mountains and the valleys are different. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. That's all 12 of them. So I measured off. I ended up putting my marks, they were about 1.25 inches apart is how I measured, and that allowed me to get all 12 marks on my one sheet of paper with as little left over as possible. You do want a little bit left over at the end. You want to have, you know, like an extra mark at the end for your cover to attach to. That's probably about clear as mud, so let me show you. You mark off 12 marks. Then, you know, in bookbinding, there's mountain folds and there's valley folds. Mountain folds are the ones that are up towards you. These are all mountain folds. This is a valley fold. If you can see, it's going the other way. So there's a valley, here's a mountain, here's a mountain. Makes sense, right? You want them all to be mountain folds. So you will have 12 mountain folds across your spine paper. Then what I do, now you can measure this off instead of doing it this way, but you know, I'm anti-measuring. I don't like to measure, so I do that as little as possible. So what I do is just measure off for each signature, measure off 12, and then you just take your little mountain peaks and put the peaks together like that, and then that creates your valley fold in between. So you can just measure for it all the way across, but I don't like to do that. I do it this way. Then go to the next one, take this mountain peak and bring it up to meet the one next to it. If your paper's thick, it can be kind of challenging, but you know, you can do it. There we go, peak to peak. Take your next mountain, peak to peak, and then you just continue all the way across, bringing all of your little peaks up to meet each other. You know, you're fan folding, basically. That's all it is. Alright. Now once you've got that done, then you're going to have a little mountain for each of your signatures to attach to, and little places on the end, these end pieces, that's where your covers will attach. So you'll have 12 mountain folds and then a couple of flaps on either end for your covers. And that's all there is to folding the binding. Okay? Now, there's several different ways you can attach your signatures to an accordion fold. Normally I attach them in the valley, but I had an idea for a closure, so I attached them to the mountain part. Let me show you. Okay. Measured off my 12, folded my mountains, then folded my valleys. Then I attached each signature to the mountain part, like this. And remember I talked about I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do it. I thought I might sew them, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I still might sew them. But for now, they seem to be holding really well with washi tape. I just washi taped them on there. Took the very edge of my signature, butted it right up against the mountain, put washi tape on either side, and I did that for each one. And they're holding really good so far. And you might notice that I did use some rubber stamps to stamp the months on here, or you don't have to stamp it. You can write it, you can print something out, whatever. Okay, here's what I learned in this process. I learned, well, I didn't learn this, I already knew it, but I thought I was being careful, and I wasn't. But when you are looking at stamps and picking your letters out, sometimes the J and the will look like an L, because, you know, it's backwards, and because you're old and you don't see really well, and then you don't realize that you had the J until you stamp it, and then you go, ah! And then it makes you laugh, so you just leave it. So for the entire month of April, I'm going to call it Aprige, and I'm going to giggle to myself every time I do. Okay, so yeah, be careful with that. One thing I did find out the hard way, and I didn't figure it out until I had stamped all of them. The ink that I used was a waterproof, heavy-duty, you know, one of those inks. I don't know what kind it was. It bled through. This paper is really thin, and it never even crossed my mind that it might bleed through. And it bled through bad enough that it was unacceptable. You know, normally I'm okay with little things like that. If you can see through and, you know, you get smudges and all, I don't care. This bothered me because it bled through badly, and it bled through onto my calendar and was bad enough to be distracting. So I did something I rarely do. I went in and fixed it instead of just living with it. And I don't know that you can even see, but right here where it bled through, I cut another strip of this paper, just used my little paper trimmer, cut it out, and glued it on to the part where the bleed through was. This was before I had, you know, put my grid and everything down. So, and it was easy to line everything up because this has lines on it, so, you know, it was easy to get it just right. But I did that for every month so that the bleed, where is it? Right there. So the bleed through wouldn't show. And it worked really well. You can see a little bit of buckling right here from the glue. And that doesn't bother me at all because that just adds to the crinkliness of the paper, which I like. But, okay, that was my boo-boo and my fix. It was one of my many boo-boos and my fix for it. So, yeah. So after I stamped out all of the months and then discovered that it bled through, and then I went through and fixed them, I did change inks for the, I use these little stamps for the days of the week. And I changed to a pigment ink, which, you know, takes a little while to dry because it kind of sits on top of the paper. So a couple of them got smudged, but nothing nothing major, earth-shattering. But it did not, you can see through a little bit, but it did not bleed through nearly as bad as this one did. So, yeah, I was happy with that. So, stamped on my months, drew my grid for each month, and wrote in the dates, and stamped the days. And this is where, if you don't have this kind of paper, this can be maybe kind of challenging because you might have to measure off, and I would really recommend, you know, maybe printing out a grid to use. Unless you enjoy this, which I do, then, you know, go for it. So I did that for each month, and then I haven't finished yet, but I've gone through and started just drawing lines across on my weekly sheets. And I'm just using the, let's see, I forgot to do the last one. I'm just using the lines that were already there, and the pen that I use when I start with these lines that are already there, go across, and then I can kind of see through on the next page. So it's easy to draw them. You could use washi tape, you know, you can use a straight edge to make them nice and neat, whatever, but I really like the hand-drawn, squiggly, freeform look of it. So that's where I'm at. Okay, washi taped all of my signatures in. I found 2 pieces of painted paper. I very frequently get asked, what do you do with all that painted paper? This is what I do with it. You use it like you would any other decorative paper. These are some of my painted papers that you've seen on various videos. And they're just gessoed on the other side. It was probably a magazine page to begin with. And I cut it down to the right height, but I left it the original width and just folded it over to make a pocket, and then used some washi tape down the sides, and I glued it to the flap here with I just used my ATG adhesive. Just ran a strip down there and stuck it down, and then put some washi tape over the edge, just for decorative purposes only. So that's the front and back cover. Very, very simple, really. I mean, the only not simple part of this book is the drawing all of the lines and doing the grids for the calendar, which, you know, you can get around by printing out or making a template or whatever. But sometimes I like those tedious things like that because I can do them while I'm watching TV and don't have to think much about it. So, okay, we're up to speed now. I'm ready to decide on some kind of binding closure thing. What I have in my head is weird. I've seen it before, I think. I'm not really even sure. I don't know how it's going to work, but you know what? I'm just going to do it, and it requires poking holes, so I may end up with a bunch of extra air holes and not even use them. But we'll see. I mean, at this point, you could call it finished. You could wrap a ribbon around it for a closure, and then, you know, it would be done. Because this is basically how I wanted the book. I wanted to be able to flip through it like this, you know, book fashion, so I can just open up my month here, see what's going on. But I also wanted the option to be able to do this, spread it out so that I can open these up. I can have my entire year spread out before me, and if I want to have, you know, like a major planner session where I'm, you know, decorating my planner, I can just have it all spread out right here, ready to go. So this is the reason, this right here is the reason why I chose this particular kind of binding. So that, you know, this would open out, they would lay flat. If I need them completely flat, you know, the binding is completely flexible. I can do this. for each month, and I've got a completely flat surface. I don't have any book behind it to mess with. So this is what I was wanting, and I'm thrilled that it actually worked. So yeah, I could leave it like this, but I really do want some way to hold it closed, to hold the accordion closed, so that it will function in book form if I need to just flip through it, you know. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if I poke holes, a couple holes through these folds, and then run some string or ribbon or something in there, that will do it. I mean, I could just, you know, poke holes and do it like binder rings or something, but then to pull it out, I would have to take the binder rings off. That is an option, but I don't want to have to mess with taking binder rings off if I don't have to. I'm just going to poke holes. Now, if I could actually find my crocodile, that's what I would use, but my crocodile and my corner rounder have run off together. I don't know where they are. They're together wherever they are. I'm sure of this. I don't know if they have gone to Mexico and, you know, got married. I don't know. I can't find them, and I've been looking for weeks. So, until they turn up, I'm just going to use a pokey tool. I think I'm going to measure my first hole, and then use that hole as my guide for the next ones. Okay, this is about 9, so about 4.5 would be the middle. So let's come up to maybe, okay, 4.5 is the middle, so if I come up 1 inch, come up 2 inches. Is that too far? No, that's what I'm going to do. Come up 2 inches there, 2 inches there. Okay, there and there. Does it need to be out a little further? Maybe it does. Let me see. Okay, there's 9. See, this is why I don't film a lot of this kind of thing, because it's just me talking to myself and trying to figure stuff out, and it's very boring. Okay, so I think it needs to come out 1 more inch. Right there. Right there. Or maybe in between. I don't know. Okay. Man, you know, when you're making stuff up as you go, it's just hard to make a decision. I think I'm going to go with that one. Okay. I think I will. Here we go. Poking a hole. Let's see. Yeah, I want it right about in the middle. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Now, I'm going to use that hole as my guide for all the rest. And I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me poke holes, because I'm pretty sure y'all can manage that on your own. So I'm going to go poke holes through the rest of my little things, and then I will be back. Okay, I figured it out. 2 hours later. Okay, here's what I did. And this probably looks really confusing to you, and I don't know, maybe it is. It is not for me, but I'm a little weird. So, here we have it. Right. And then to close it up, you just pull 1 bead and there you go, and it holds it like a book, you know, because I wanted to be able to do this as well as pull it out. And then these I just tied out of the way. You know, I had them wrapped around like this, which you can do, or I kind of like the way this looks. Just crisscross a couple different ways. Like that. And then slip them through the strings. I know, made no sense, did it? Okay, let me show you. I went through and I punched holes in all of the little sections. I don't know what to call those. All the little folds, that's what they are. Like I told you I was going to, right? Just used my pokey tool, punched a hole in each one. Then I used some of this, I found this cord, let me show you. A friend gave these to me. It's braiding cords. And I think it's maybe a kid's craft stuff, but these are great. They're cotton. They're all cotton cords, so they're really strong, and they were about the right size. So I just pulled off a long length. This is one piece. Then I took and threaded the cord, starting at the front of the book. Just threaded it through all of the holes, like this. Came around and then threaded it back up here. Just like that, one single piece, right? And then you can just pull on it, and it pulls your book together. But I wanted it to be able to stay that way. So, you know, it had to have something right here to hold it down. So I did a bead, and you can see what I did, right? I'll show you a close-up. Let me find a bead. Okay, so to do this little slide knot thing with the bead, you just thread excuse me, thread it on, loop it around like that, and then come back the same way. And you want the hole of your bead big enough that, you know, your thread can go through there twice, but not so big that you have a lot of extra space. This one's a little bit loose, because if it's just the right size, then this will slide real tight up and down. See? That's all this is. So when I slide it, I pull this and I slide it, it holds. Pull, slide it. There you have it. Okay? So then I needed something, you know, I didn't want these to fall off the end of the string, you know, when I pull these to open. So I put a knot at the end of the string and then another bead and a knot, just to have something decorative. So that way when I pull these out to use them, my bead won't fall off. That's really the only reason for that. Okay. So see, this is not difficult. And then you can leave these dangling, you can wrap them, you know, whatever. On this back piece, when you're threading through, you might want to either put a knot there and there so that this piece won't slide, or you might want to put some washi tape over that or something to keep it, just this section right here, from moving. That way your cords will stay even. So to close, you can just do whatever you want, really. Yeah, if you want a closure on this side, you know, you can do this. Like that, to keep it closed, to keep stuff from falling out. But since I don't have anything in there right now, I don't really need that. So I have been just crossing them at the spine, like this. Just crisscross, wrap around, crisscross, wrap around, crisscross, and then if you'll look, see how there's one string coming up the top and the rest are on the bottom? Just tuck that under the top string on both sides, like that. So there you have it. That'll stay in place. This stays tight. Now I've got a book I can throw in my bag, and I'm calling it done. So if you are a person who wants a planner, because everyone else has planners and they're playing with them and you don't want to be left out, then you can make a planner like this for people who have no plans. And so you'll still have a pretty planner, but you don't have a bunch of stuff that you don't need, a bunch of extra space. It's bare minimum. You can customize it to fit your needs. It's a little bit of effort, yeah, but it's fun effort because you've made a handmade book. So if you want instant gratification, well, heck, don't do this. But if you want to make a fun book and have something usable that completely suits your needs at the end, then here you go. So I may continue to do, little decorative things and add stuff. I don't know. And as I'll continue to work on it, I will film and keep you informed. But for now, I'm calling it done. The end.